Good morning, church. Thank you for joining us for our daily Devo. Today we're in Matthew chapter 18, verses 1 to 20. And there's really two thoughts in this. The first is on the lost sheep. And then Christ talks about dealing with division within the body between two believers who disagree. And I really want to focus on that section. See, I think unity is a core value of the church. And I think when the church is unified, what it can do is amazing. A matter of fact, as we're studying the book of Acts in our Sunday morning sermons, we're seeing the power of the church. It starts with a few hundred, and before the book is over, it is going to reach out to the world. This message is going to go to every part of the known world within one generation. And one of the reasons they could do that is there was a real unity of the church. See, I believe more churches have been destroyed by disunity than by threats and persecutions outside the church. That may sound bold, but I think it's true. I think Satan can just take a little fissure, a little rip between a couple people who get cross-purposed to one another. And then all of a sudden they start accumulating one another, their side. They don't talk to the person about it, but they talk to others. And then others take an offense. And sometimes it's expanded on. And the next thing you know, this little fissure is a rip that divides the church. I used to joke that a church split you could call Southern Baptist church planting. Because in most Southern Baptist associations, you could look in a county and you could see this church started when this church got mad and they divided, and this one here and this one there. And we see those divisions. And that division so many times is so destructive to the church. And here Christ really gives us a simple steps we're to take. He says in verse 13, if we're offended by someone, if we've been offended, we're to go to that person. See, I would say if you're offended, if you've been hurt by someone, there's two people you speak to first. First is to God, because you need to get your heart right. Galatians says if we're going to confront a brother, we need to do it in humility and only if you're spiritual. And so we need to go to God and say, God, deal with my heart, deal with my hurt, deal with me, that I can approach them with the right words at the right time. And then we can talk to that person. See, we're not to talk to others. And the natural thing when we're hurt is to go to others and say, this person did this. And we can even couch it. I want your help. I want you to coach me on this. I need your opinion. Should I have been offended? And it's so easy to do that. And the moment we talk to that person, we expand the conflict. And if you tell that person, I'm going to tell you this, but don't tell anybody else. I tell you what you guarantee. You guarantee when they tell someone else, they're going to say, don't tell anyone else. So go to God. And then we're to go to that person, because I can't tell you how many times I've heard something where somebody has said something or someone made an offense against me, or and I would go to that person, and when I talked to them, I realized it wasn't the issue I thought it was. They weren't represented correctly in what they said. Or when I talked to them, sometimes they've said, right, I said that was wrong. I shouldn't have said that. See, the idea is before you let it expand, you go to them. You talk to them. And many times when that happens, that can deal with the issue. And I would say this, if someone comes to you and says, hey, I need to talk to you about this, your first question should be, have you talked to them yet? See, even as a pastor, when people have come to me and said, listen, I want to talk to you about this, I would say, have you talked to them? And if they say no, I'd say, okay, if you're going to talk to me, I'm going to then approach that person to make sure that I get both sides, not just to listen to what you say. And many times people say, whoa, then I'm not going to say anything to you. I said, that's fine. But we're to go to that person, and I think so many times the issue would be dealt with if we just did that. Now, if that person doesn't listen, it gives us the next step. Bring another person. It shouldn't be your best friend. It shouldn't be someone. It should be an unbiased person. Hopefully, as we look in Galatians, a spiritual person. Someone can listen. Someone can clarify. Someone that can take the heat down. And someone that establishes every word. Because many times, two people can meet like that and come out of the meeting with a totally different thought. And both of them describe the meetings. And if you listen to the two of them, it doesn't even seem like they were in the same meeting. So you bring another person. Sometimes that third person can mediate. Sometimes they can bring it together. But at least they can pull the fissure so deception or lies can't be shared or Satan can't use something to expand it. And then here it's talking about, obviously, there's a real sin. There's a real offense. We're not talking about cosmetic surface issues here. If it's to the point that you've talked to them and they won't change, and you brought another person and clearly that person realizes they're wrong and they won't change, then you can expand it to the church. And I would say the church isn't talking to your friends. It's the go to the pastor. It's the go to one of your ministers and go to them to say, hey, I talked to them. I brought this person. And most likely when you talk to the minister, you're going to have that person you brought. Then they can step in. Again, the purpose is not retaliation. The purpose is that the church will be brought together, forgiveness will happen, and unity will be restored. But he gives a picture. If that person still won't deal with it, then that person may be removed from the church. See, Titus says, that we're to remove a divisive person after a couple warnings. It's that important. It's a cancer within the church. But I see so many times before we radiate, before we chemo, before we want to cut it out, if I would just be willing to go to that person face to face and talk to them many times, peace can be found, unity can be restored, and Satan's attempt to destroy and divide can be taken out. Guys, it's tough words, but I hope you can apply it, and I hope I can apply it. Hope you guys are having a great day. Again, thank you so much for being part of our Daily Devos.